The Isiah Factor Uncensored starts right now.
And welcome to The Factor Uncensored. We're in downtown Houston, the fourth largest city in America, where, thank goodness, crime is not through the roof. But there are several cities around the country where they're inundated with crime. Now, a recent study indicated larger cities, even smaller cities, where there was a significant crime problem, it has gone down as a result of black leadership. Let's talk about it tonight.
Greg, what we have seen around the country is incredible when there has been black leadership in some of the major cities. We're talking about Baltimore, Chicago, Philadelphia, and many others where there is black leadership, but there has been a decline in violence, especially shootings, murders. What do we attribute that to?
Well, first off, I want to say that I wouldn't attribute it just to the leadership being black. I think it's more about commitment and concern on the part of those individual leaders, because you had the same things happen under white leadership in cities as well. What you're seeing, though, is that you're seeing a different type, and I don't even want to call these guys politicians. They're more of community
You say public
activists.
servants.
Exactly. And they are more concerned about their crimes, so they're taking a different non-traditional approach to fighting crimes in their city. Normally, what you've seen traditionally is that you've seen politicians, mayors running cities, and they've always counted on the federal government to provide funding and solutions for these crime problems. Then second of all, they look to the police to solve these problems. And as one of the mayors said, in one of these cities, policing is not going to solve the problem alone. It takes a commitment from both the police and the community. And that's what you're seeing. They're no longer whining and crying about federal programs and getting funding to fund these, for these programs to help fight these fight crimes and give these kids something to do. They're taking that burden upon themselves, and they're finding non-traditional solutions to fund these programs.
Is that sustainable where you have limited budgets in a city, and without that backing from the federal government, you may run out of money for these programs that are keeping young people busy and out of trouble?
It's sustainable as long as you can maintain or build and maintain a relationship between the public and private sector. You don't have to just rely totally on the budgets for these municipalities. You can start track up partnerships with some of the larger businesses in those communities, and they can help fund some of these programs. It's what it really takes. It takes innovation. You can't, as I said, you can't rely on traditional solutions for non-traditional problems, because things are changing, crimes have changed in cities, the crime problems have changed, and so now you're looking at a bunch of mayors who are looking at different ways to handle these problems.
And while many of the mayors like Brandon Scott in Baltimore have been given the credit for this drop in crime, and I think they've seen the lowest number of gun related shootings and or murders in like 50 years. What
Right.
role, if any, did police have to play with this? They had to play a role, a significant role.
I want to go back and give you an example what role police can play. Back in the early 70s, my father came up, he was a retired police officer in Detroit, and he came up with a program called the mini station concept, where they placed many police substations in the community, and you had a greater police presence in the community where people were seeing police officers not just as an enforcement role, but someone who is concerned about the community right there in the community that they can have ongoing contact with. Fast forward to today, what do you see? You're seeing the same thing. You're seeing that level of community police presence. Remember Lee Brown, he was a mayor of, he was a mayor of Houston, but he was also the chief of police. He brought neighborhood-oriented policing to Houston. It was basically the same concept, which was an offshoot of what was called community-oriented policing. But it all comes down to the same thing. It comes down to a greater police presence that is not only concerned with enforcement, it's also concerned with community affairs and community involvement. And that's what these cities have done.
And despite what this article and study indicated, Greg, you don't necessarily see there being a tie between black leaders and these major cities where they're seeing a major reduction in crime, just leaders who may care.
Exactly. It comes down to a concern and a commitment on the part of leadership. And when you're seeing, it doesn't matter what your color is, when you're seeing that to the public, when they're seeing that level of concern and commitment coming from that office, they're going to respond in a positive way. And that's what you're seeing now.
We're not done with the Factor Uncensored just yet. Still ahead, how to prepare for a disaster financially. We'll have more coming your way. Stay with us.